I have to make this vlog and thank the people at Fayette Piedmont Hospital. I know I've been very critical of them in the recent past before uh, the emergency room, as much as I work to praise those who were nice to us. But I have to give the credit to the emergency room this time and to the hospital staff overall. Um, Maybe they got my vlogs. I don't know. They didn't mention it, but for the first time, for the first time in my entire history with Fayette Piedmont Hospital and my mother, a doctor finally asked me, 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 as my mother's caregiver, what my opinion was about something and my knowledge about my mother's history in a certain area. I can't say how much I really appreciate that because my poor mom gets into a situation like this and she gets scared and confused, and for good reason. And I wanted to thank the hospital for really discovering, the doctors for really discovering her problem and addressing it like that. Um, because Tuesday was a horrifying day. We started at 5:30 in the morning. My mom said she was complaining of not being able to breathe properly, and just, well, she didn't put it that way, but I can't breathe. And normally I know exactly what to do in that situation, basically make sure her bladder empties out, but none of that was working. And called 911, and the paramedics came over. I see mom before. So one lady I didn't see before. I think her name was Amanda, and Amanda seemed to want to have a discussion with me regarding how paramedics should respond to patients who are older, confused, scared, and they're going to say anything. And I said, you have to be a super person. For some odd reason, that seemed to bother her. But I also didn't think it was really appropriate to have a conversation like that in the wake of them picking up my mother. You know what I mean? Fortunately, her colleague was much more understanding of a subject that really didn't need to come up at the time. Okay. In fairness, I brought up because I was talking about past experiences with Fayette Piedmont. Uh, just getting it all out there in the open. And he understood. So we got to the hospital, it was entirely different. It's like night and day. Yesterday was day. It was great. And it makes sharing my mother's experience, what she's going through, easier for me when feel like I can trust the organization. And, I feel like I can do that. Okay. I feel like I can do that. Um, and there's something to be said for that today. There really is. So, more later, I just had to get that out. I had hesitated because um, sometimes, well, I hesitated for reasons I'm not even going to state here. I'll just leave them alone. They're not too controversial. It's more personal than anything else. Okay, it's more personal than anything else. But you all know I love to vlog. But I'm excited to return to the hospital today, and God's prayer to God, rather, God's willingness. Mom is on her way back to normal. I know she was when I left. There's no reason for me to think she's going to go to the other way, right? Um, I would really appreciate a prayer from my mom. I could use it. She is my central focus. And a number of people tell me, well, you have to think about yourself and all that. You know what? Too many people say that to me. I find that really annoying. Yeah, it goes without saying that I'm going to think about myself, but I'm not going to do it to the detriment of my responsibility to my mother. Okay. And I really am sick and tired of people telling me, well, you have to watch out for yourself. Yeah, I know that. You watch out for yourself, great. But don't tell me to watch out for myself in the context of caring for my mom, you know, because I know I'm going to take care of me. But the most important thing to know is how I'm going to take care of my mother and what I'm going to do, right? That's the most important thing. And you can't slough off that, okay? It's not something you can just say, I'm not going to take care of that. I'm not going to do that. Well, you got to do it. I mean, do you realize that there's something called filial law, responsibility? Filial responsibility is, if you will, a thing, a law in, I believe, a number of states. I know California is true, Georgia is true. What it means is that it's not true in Illinois, but Illinois, I think it has something a little have something similar. Illinois, I know for a fact Illinois has something similar because I went through that situation regarding my father, my late rest in peace. My point is that filial law says that you are responsible for the debts of your parents. And if it's healthcare matter, you have to pay those debts. That's a that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's where it is. And there's a lot of responsibilities implied within the way that legislation is written, okay, that people need to be aware of and need to read it. Don't think that you don't have a responsibility to your folks. You do, okay? You can't just go off, shuffle off the buffalo, do what you want to do all the time and say, hey, I got this. And no, that's not the way you treat your parents. You have responsibility to your parents, whether you like it or not. I personally like it. Just saying, all right? I personally like it. So, all right. Thank you, Fayette Piedmont Hospital in Georgia. Next to, we used to call Pinewood Studios, right? Where the Avengers films were made. Now it's called Trilla Studios, Fayetteville, Georgia. All right. We'll see. I'll talk more about that later. I'll tell you about the film industry and stuff because I need to reintroduce that idea. All right. See you later. Good night. And again, pray for my mom, please.